Homelessness isn't just a Portland problem anymore. It's now a crisis on the Oregon coast.
Yeah, I lost my other half, so I don't have a second income, a stability to attend getting into an apartment.
And the vacation town of Seaside is trying to manage all the homeless camping.
Went from this was the idyllic place that we decided to retire to literally we're living in a slum.
And after years of devastating wildfire seasons, some Oregonians are taking matters into their own hands by trying to prepare their land before this summer.
You're going to burn, and you can have a choice. You want it controlled or do you want it uncontrolled? That is the reality.
But it can be expensive, and not everyone has the money to pay for it. Here's the story. I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. All the ways to communicate with us right there at the bottom of your screen. You can email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com. You could also use the hashtag TheStoryKGW on Twitter, or you could leave us a voicemail. Just call our number, 503-226-5090. We talk about homelessness a lot on this story because it's a huge problem, especially about what's happening here in the Portland area. But we know the crisis really has no borders. And so tonight we're going to take you out to Seaside, where Tim Gordon profiled the homeless problem earlier this year. And now the city has approved a homeless camping ordinance.
From a distance, the coastal city of Seaside is like most of us know it to be, a beautiful place to live and visit. On the ground, it has some of the same problems of bigger cities, including homelessness and affordable housing. For more than a year, Seaside leaders have been working on ways to manage its homeless crisis. And this week, they voted to approve an ordinance.
Establishing camping regulations, definitions, and a program for temporary camping, prohibited camping, penalties, and enforcement.
The ordinance sets up a system for homeless camping in vehicles and tents with different rules for public and private property. As it stands, there are unsanctioned camps, the biggest and most obvious being at 12th and Acanicum, a city-owned lot with 20 or so cars, vans, campers, and RVs. It's been here for more than a year, just 3 doors down from Russ Mead's home.
I mean, it went from this was the idyllic place that we decided to retire to literally we're living in a slum. I mean, if you look up the definition of a slum, this is it.
People and problems do come and go from here, although some long-term campers say they've tried to be good neighbors.
Yeah, I just pretty much take care of people that need help, you know.
Robert Ireland is the unofficial mayor of the camp. The ordinance, as approved, will not allow something this big.
It's not really fair. I mean, I see both sides of it. People around here that have spent $500,000 on their house, they don't want to look at a bunch of tents and trailers, but, you know, if there was a better lot, we would go to it.
In fact, the city has chosen a half dozen public streets in Seaside, some places more removed from houses than others, where temporary permits up to 3 weeks will be required, vehicles must be registered, and camping is only allowed from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
With this new initiative, a lot of us can't afford to do a daily move, you know?
Jason Seymour has lived in Seaside for 20 years, and he works at the local Goodwill. But he is only recently homeless and staying in the camp.
Legitimately, I lost my other half, so I don't have a second income, a stability to attend getting into an apartment again, but I've been saving for that.
A lack of affordable housing is a core problem. Seaside is full of expensive homes and vacation rentals.
I clean vacation rentals, and they rent usually for about $400 and $500 a night.
Colleen Brady lives and works here, and as for this camp,
I'm very frustrated. I feel sorry for them. I understand they have a thing, but there's got to be another alternative than this.
Let's all just remember to be respectful and gracious to each other.
Despite that plea, the frustration got intense at times at this week's city council meeting.
Fix it. I'm tired of seeing junk, needles, drugs everywhere we go.
The unpaid volunteer elected officials heard an earful, and a majority of it from people against setting rules that allow regulated camping in the city.
We have more hard drugs like heroin and meth, more unregistered RVs on our streets, more tents back in the Mill Pond vicinity than ever before.
Of course, the camping is already going on. We came to Seaside 2 months ago and talked to Mayor Jay Barber and Council Member Tita Montero about the city's year-long effort to come up with solutions that involved multiple community forums, workshops, and the rest. We saw one solution already in place, a new warming shelter that serves as a homeless resource center year-round, run by local nonprofits. Montero led a lot of the work to develop a vision and plan to address homelessness.
Councilor Montero, no.
Ironically, she was one of 2 no votes for the ordinance that she feels needs changes.
And I'm going to ask that if we think there are things we have to fix in this amendment, that we do it as rapidly as we put this ordinance through. I'm very angry about this.
But in the end, the majority voted yes. And Montero was down at the Nicanicum camp the next day, explaining to people where things stand, which includes their need to prepare to move. And that includes Richard Sanders, recently unemployed and disabled. He sold his car so he could buy this van for him and his dog to live in. Now he's part of the Seaside homeless community.
I say us. It feels weird saying us because there's not an us. We're people.
Like everyone, Richard has his own story, and this is a tough chapter. He's frustrated.
But you know what? To deal with it, people. You got either you want to step up and try and be a part of the solution, or you're part of the problem, really. That's what it is.
In Seaside and other communities, the homeless crisis is just that.
It's not what I want, it's not what anybody wants, and it shouldn't be what the folks here want. I mean, they don't want to live in a place where there's no power, no water, no sewage. They want something different. We all want something different. This is wrong and is failing.
Tim Gordon joins us now. Tim, that was a really interesting look at that problem in Seaside, and I think your story shows it's really tough to please everyone.
Yeah, for sure, Pat. Even the woman who really has been spearheading this effort in Seaside, Tita Montero, is not satisfied. So as we said, she voted against the ordinance, thinking that it needs improvements, especially in the area of private property camping. Residents expressed concerns about that as well.
But it sounds like there is some kind of opportunity for at least some improvements through this ordinance?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, it can be amended, and some of the councilors said they voted in favor with the expectation it is a work in progress and can be improved. So this isn't over for those working on it, and frankly, for those who are dead set against any homeless camping, even with rules. Pat?
Thanks, Tim. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Thanks a lot. Now, while we're on the topic, the homeless problem and rampant crime continue to be a problem in Portland's Old Town. In early March, leaders in Old Town issued a 90-day list of demands, things they wanted from the city and the county. They say crime and drug use simply out of control, along with numerous homeless tents on their sidewalks. Well, today they offered up a 45-day update on how things are going. We're going to start with the good news. Jesse Burke, who is the chair of the Old Town Community Association, said Clean and Safe, which picks up garbage, dedicated 3 staff members and 1 trash truck to the area, which did help clean the place up. The group also demanded daily garbage pickup, and as they investigated, they found, well, that's always been on the schedule. It just was not happening. Today, it is. They also demanded more lighting and found that most of the problem could be fixed if business owners and parking lots increased their lighting. So they are. And then there is the graffiti. Old Town leaders wanted it cleaned up, and that is now underway.
I cannot express how grateful I am to Corrine Perkins at the Office of Civic Life and their contractor Paul Watts, who really took this project under their wing as a pilot, and in the first 2 weeks cleared over 11,000 square feet of graffiti using 50 person hours and costing $70,000. Yeah.
So there is good news happening there, and well, that's the extent of it. Now for the bad news. Steve Witcherly, the operations director for Clean and Safe, said that on his way to that news conference this morning, he walked past Portland police officers who were investigating an apparent overdose death, and the body was still on the ground. He compared Old Town to a refugee camp.
My background includes humanitarian aid work in a number of different environments and countries, and I can say with some certainty that living conditions in refugee camps and displaced person communities are somewhat better than what we find on our streets currently.
It is an ongoing struggle for small business owners in Old Town, people like Ian Williams, who used to go there to buy shoes when he was younger and now owns a coffee shop called Old Town in Old Town called Dead Stock Coffee.
I see everybody, like I see the community out here, and we're all doing everything we can. But after a while, we kind of just, you just kind of stop asking, or you just kind of feel a little bit hopeless. And so they're still fighting, but to be honest, I'm running out of fight. and I'm not going anywhere, but it's really difficult. So
Old Town is an important and valuable part of our city and a valuable part of Portland's culture, but it's definitely in trouble, and it's been that way for a while. 4 out of April's 9 homicides happened in the greater downtown area, including Old Town. Listen now as Jesse Burke talks about the murders as a woman with apparent mental health challenges nearby yells at her from the street.
We had Jennifer Drain, a client of so many of our agencies, who during a mental break in her tent was killed execution style because she was making too much noise. Students at University of Oregon sitting in their classroom, windows facing NATO under the Burnside Bridge, witnessed another murder of Fars Gebri-Hiwot at 11 o'clock in the morning during class, also killed execution style. And we had Gabrielle Lynn Dozier, who's a client in Old Town but lived in Southwest, who was also murdered. And those are just the homicides. Those aren't addressing the overdose deaths.
Again, that's Jesse Burke, who owns a hotel called the Society Hotel in Old Town and is chair of the Old Town Community Association. She and many others are fed up with a lack of help from the city and the county. She set a new goal for the area today.
The goal for Old Town is that we need no human living on the sidewalk. It is not safe, and I will not pretend that even a small decline in our tents is improving our safety here. It makes no difference, it seems, and I will not allow predators to threaten, intimidate, assault, or murder anyone else as if their lives don't matter. I'm asking with urgency that our leadership at the city and county acknowledge our crisis with more than thoughts and prayers and more than bureaucratic delays. We need an emergency solution that will get our most vulnerable off of the sidewalks immediately and into some form of shelter, because anything is safer than this.
As the number of murders in Portland grow, it's important to remember that those who are killed are much more than just numbers. Jesse Burke did that today.
So I'd like to take just a few seconds to have a moment of silence for Danielle, Jennifer, Gabrielle, and Fars, because they were all citizens here too, with beating hearts and their own tragic story, and lost their lives because our city and county lacked the urgency to find an immediate solution. So I'd just like to give them a second.
Emotions running strong there. Multnomah County did issue a statement this afternoon saying that they are following up on their promise to help with mental health services in that area, especially at the Blanchet House. Okay, that's good, but in my opinion, it's not nearly enough. Police need to run special missions to find the predators in Old Town and lock them up, get them out of there. If there are not enough Portland police to do it, the community should ask the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office to come in and help. They have a special investigations unit that are effective at taking guns and drugs off the streets and finding the bad guys. It is extraordinary that the leaders of Old Town feel they have to hold public news conferences to demand help. It shows that they have lost all faith that the politicians will send that help unless they're pressured by the public. Hopefully, this time, the political leaders are listening and will respond. We'll be watching. That's my take. What's your opinion? Should more police be sent to rid Old Town of crime, or are there other priorities the city and county should focus on instead? Send me an email. Let me know what you're thinking. Our address is thestory@kgw.com, or you can call and leave a message, 503-226-5090. We're told one of the big driving factors of homelessness is a lack of available housing. So now Multnomah County is asking landlords if they're willing to house people living on the streets. When the story continues. Welcome back. Thanks for your emails and phone calls already. We see them coming in on both Seaside and Old Town. We appreciate that. Keep sending your questions and comments to thestory@kgw.com. We love the dialogue. You could also give us a call, leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Multnomah County has a question for landlords. Do you have a vacant rental property, and would you be willing to offer that home up to a homeless person if you knew that the rent would be paid? The county hopes that you will say yes. They launched a new program called Move In Multnomah. It's going to spend $4 million or up to that to house to put people in vacant homes and apartments and pay the rent for a year. And this isn't low income rates. This is the full market rate that a landlord would be able to charge anybody else. The county also pays their security deposit and any damage that the deposit does not cover. But they say in the past when they've done this, they haven't really had any big damage to pay for, that people take care of their homes. Many advocates for the homeless say housing people is the place to start. Get people off the street into someplace safe and dry and warm first, and then you can start to deal with all the other issues that keep people from staying in housing. But people who are homeless often have a hard time getting into that home because of past evictions or job issues. So the county is hoping this will help them establish a good rental history that they can then carry forward. The money comes from the Supportive Housing Services tax. It's already been used on a smaller scale, and landlords who have used it say it's been great.
You know, when we were approached by, it came from the tenant himself saying, I'm part of the Urban League. I have a case manager and they're going to take care of everything. You don't have to worry. It's like, really? We don't have to worry about anything. We were pretty skeptical. I talked to my mom about this and she said, okay, we'll try it. It's been the best partnership that we could have had. The case management experience that they provide and services that are provided to the families who are the tenants has been amazing. When it comes to the rental screening process, the Urban League has done it all. We don't have to do any of the screening. Rent comes on time. We are now able to charge market rate. It's just been an amazing program for the tenants and the landlords.
If you're interested, you can find more information on the Multnomah County website. If you can't find that, shoot me an email. I'll get you connected. They're taking applications now. You can apply online by June 30th if you're a landlord with a vacant property that you are willing to offer up. By the way, you might remember in March we covered an effort called the 3,000 Challenge, where advocates challenged the city to house 3,000 people by the end of the year in homes that already exist. The county says this is not a response to that. This effort was already underway. Some Oregon property owners who have lived through the last few fire seasons now think big wildfires pretty much inevitable. So they're taking matters into their own hands to protect their land through prescribed burns and thinning. When the story continues. I know it's been raining outside a lot, but we are getting closer to summer, which means wildfire season is right around the corner. A lot of Oregonians have suffered over the last few years with homes, businesses, even entire towns burning down. Now, some property owners are trying to stop the fires before they can even start, but it is expensive. NBC's Miguel Almaguer spoke with some wildfire survivors in Southern Oregon about how they are preparing their land for this year.
Raging wildfires, fueled by acres of dense forest, propelled by unstoppable walls of flames. Obliterating homes and incinerating communities. It happens year.
Firefighters are beginning to lose the battle.
After year.
The air attack has been a major asset all day long. But
after year.
The winds fanning these flames are expected to last another 24 hours.
In 2021, Oregon's bootleg fire tore through the Jacobs family property.
The fires have just got unreal big from what they was back in the past.
And when it's burning, can anything slow it down?
No.
The fifth-generation loggers and ranchers lost 300 acres.
It is quite a project.
Now the federal government is trying to help families like theirs, urging them to thin their own forests before fire season begins, or to initiate prescribed burns, controlled fires like this one, so there's less wood to fuel the flames when fire season starts. But conducting these burns isn't cheap or easy.
Who pays for that?
That's the thing right there. If we'd have managed our own property, done this thinning and stuff behind us, and then possibly had the state come in and do underburns and stuff like that, it would have saved our ground.
Across the U.S., there are 765 million acres of forest land. Extreme drought and climate change creating the most explosive conditions in the West. The government now wants to reduce fuel and clear as much land as the size of Idaho. To tackle that, last fall's infrastructure bill included billions set aside to fight wildfires before they start.
When you look out here and you see all these trees, do you see beauty or do you see danger?
Both. You know, I wish we could thin it all.
Here in Oregon, forest thinning can cost up to $900 an acre. Government grants help, but there's not enough money to go around.
The Jacobs family has applied for federal funding, but for now, they're covering their own bill. On a property this size, it's roughly $1 million, something they can't afford. But the cost of a catastrophic wildfire is even greater.
Just a few miles away from the Jacobs Ranch, the Dollingers' property was also burned by the Bootleg Fire. But they're taking part in a 10-year program with Oregon's Department of Forestry. So a controlled burn in 2017 prevented what would likely have cost them their land.
We'd spent all those years trying to keep fire away, and here we invited it. You're going to burn, and you can have a choice. You want it controlled or do you want it uncontrolled? That is the reality.
Which is why they're investing in prevention, a price easier to pay before than after disaster strikes. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, Bly, Oregon.
Keep sending your questions and comments to the story at kgw.com. I'm seeing them right here. I'll read some of them live on the air when we come back. For this week's Hey Help campaign, we're asking you to donate to Outsiders In. They're a nonprofit based in Vancouver that helps run one of the city's new Safe Stay communities. It's a way for homeless people to get off the street and live in an organized and safe village. If you want to donate, just hold your phone's camera up to the QR code that's there on your screen now, or you can go to kgw.com/heyhelp. This is a micro donation drive, so feel free to give any amount, no matter how small or how big. Let's read some of your comments now that have been coming in. And Lisa is talking about the Seaside homeless. She says, we're very familiar with that camp that you featured on Mechanicsburg and Seaside, watching it evolve over the past 18 months. She says it'll be a shame if Seaside makes them move every day. All it does is rotate campers around town, no benefit to anyone at all. Thanks, Lisa, for that one. Craig says if Bill Nato were still alive, Old Town would be cleaned up. Bill Nato, a big leader in downtown Portland. And he says, that's it. That's all you need to know about that one. Also, Kate, talking about Old Town, says, yes, the police should address the problem of Old Town along with all of the problem areas of the city. We keep hearing the police don't have enough resources. So what are they doing? We deserve to know. Great point, Kate. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for watching. That's our show. But remember, the story, our story, that never ends. I'll see you tomorrow night.